So there are three kinds of people in every major technology shift since the beginning of human history. There's the resistor class, the people who get displaced and replaced. There's the user class, the folks who end up treading water, right? Who become a cog in the wheel. And there's the leverage class, the folks who learn how to build systems, who learn how to create freedom, leverage for themselves, and who win. Right now, the people with the most power in technology, the ones who are funding the future, are placing billion-dollar bets to replace entire categories of work. And they're doing all this, by the way, very publicly and out loud for all of us to see. You can see here, this is Micah Kaufman. He's the CEO of Fiverr. It says right here, here's the unpleasant truth. AI is coming for your job. Heck, it's coming for mine too. This is a wake-up call. You have to think, by the way, that this guy has no incentive to say this. He runs a freelancing platform. This is the Anthropic CEO, Anthropic's one of the major AI models out there, saying the tech could cause mass unemployment. He goes on in the article to cite 20% as a potential unemployment number, which is a huge number if you're unfamiliar with unemployment statistics. And then this is Chris Sacca, one of the biggest venture capitalists of our time. His grand unified theory of AI, we are super. And so what I did, I went out and I reviewed dozens of Y Combinator startup requests, investor memos, product roadmaps for one simple reason. Follow the money. If you want to know what's happening, what's actually going to happen, not what like experts are predicting, just look where the money's going because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I followed the money, and I'm going to share with you the 5 sectors of our economy that are going to be displaced the fastest so that you can navigate this shift well. And I'm also going to share with you, because we don't want to just be gloom and doom, a framework for how to navigate this shift. And one, by the way, that has been used by more than 1,300 people. I have 21 pages of testimonials here to take their skills and carve out a little piece of the internet that gives them freedom, security, peace of mind, and is allowing them to earn 10x more in half the time of full-time work in a way that is much more exciting and fulfilling than what you could ever do in a full-time job. And by the way, this is the future of work. This is what is coming. AI is coming for all of us. We'll talk more about it later. I think it's really important before we dive into what are the 5 sectors that we understand a little bit about what's happening right now, because history rhymes. What's happening right now has happened many, many times throughout history. It's just that right now the pace of change is faster than it's ever been, but humans react to innovation the same way, predictably. So what the science of this is called is Rogers diffusion of innovation theory. That's the big fancy name for it. And they've categorized 5 groups of people: the laggards, the late majority, the early adopters, and the innovators. And if you ever read Crossing the Chasm, you can see it there. But for our purposes, I think it's easier to just think of this in terms of 3 groups of people, and it ultimately informs the classes of our society, if you want to use sort of a distasteful term like classes, but it's just sort of how it ends up. We have the resistor class, the user class, and the leverage class. And to illustrate this point, let's just look at the Industrial Revolution and how all this netted out. History rhymes. This has happened before, it's happening now, and it'll happen again and again and again. The only question is, how well are you going to deal with it? So in the Industrial Revolution, we had the resistor class, the Luddites, right? These are the folks who resist technology. They're the people who right now are saying, oh, AI is not that good, or it's not as good as a person, or it hallucinates, or, they push away from change. And in the Industrial Revolution, when you started to have textile machines, folks were literally going out and burning machines, like actually burning them because they didn't want their jobs to go away. But of course, change came anyway. So don't be in this class. Then we have the user class, the groups of folks who sort of learn to use the machines. In the Industrial Revolution, we had folks then end up working in factories, right? They used the textile machines. They were able to navigate the shift, but not well. They're stuck in this system. And by the way, one of the interesting things about AI is they are the technology is democratizing the ability to create leverage for ourselves in a way that's never been possible in the past. You need less money, less access to anything. You have the most crazy supercomputers in the palm of your hand. If you are willing to take your skills, learn to position them properly, there is so much vast opportunity. Anyhow, those people end up trading time for money, and we see it right now with white-collar work. You get trapped in the system. This has happened before, will happen again. And then you have the leverage class. Now, in the Industrial Revolution, these are the folks that took capital and labor and created factories, right? But now, in the AI revolution, you don't need all the money, all the connections, and all the so forth. You need skills. You need to learn how to position yourself properly, and you need to learn how to amplify those skills using technology, and you can completely decouple the value you provide to companies from the time or to people, to other humans, to small businesses, to the world. And you can decouple time from money. And I've said this in previous videos, and I will say it here again. It is important to understand that in the economy, you either have leverage or you are someone else's leverage. You don't have to like that reality, but it is the case. And so what are you going to do about it? All right. So we understand now that history rhymes. This has happened before and it's happening now. And so what are the 5 sectors? What's coming? Like, is your job in this category? I think here's the truth. There are 5 sectors that are being disrupted the fastest, but every single sector of our economy is going to be hit by this. So I think it's useful to understand what are the general categories of work that are going to get disrupted first. You can look at them as the 3 AI kill zones. We talk about this in the leverage lab a lot. And they break down like this. The first sector is anything that's dull and repetitive. And so what I'm thinking about with this is anything that is manual, high volume, predictable, where it's just about like showing up and trying to reduce error rates. So you can think about data processing, invoicing, basic bookkeeping, but this applies further to things like basic creative work, to things like, any kind of checklist or spreadsheet, right? So if you're just resizing banners or you're just doing basic content creation, AI sees this very clearly as as glorified data entry in a broader creative, in a creative model. All this stuff is going away. The second category is what I would classify as data rich and rule bound. So anything that requires analyzing a lot of structured data and then applying fixed rules or logic to get the consistent outputs. And so one easy way to think about data rich and rule bound is, does if then logic apply? So you can think about tax prep, legal review, medical coding, and things like basic medical diagnostics. Anytime, a doctor is working to diagnose an illness, they're basically working through an if then checklist. If fever and cough, then, cold or whatever. AI can process this way faster and way more predictably than people can, coming for your job. Third is direct and templated interaction. And this is roles where human interaction follows a predictable script. So you can think about anything like call centers, onboarding sales reps, doing research on sales accounts, HR help desks, basic education, standardized test prep, anything where they're like if a checklist can do this. AI agents don't get tired. They don't go off script, and it's all going to be automated away. So let's now look at what are the 5 sectors. And what I would encourage you to do is apply this thinking to your job, because there are, by the way, this is the stuff in your job that you hate anyway. And this is the boring shit that you shouldn't be doing. There is so much more interesting creative work to do. And AI is going to amplify your ability to do this. So rather than be scared or resist, take advantage, because there is going to be so much money to make. And you can this notion that harder work is more outcome is completely decoupled when you learn to use machines and position your skills well. Let's talk about the 5 most replaceable sectors. It's why you're here. We'll talk about what to do about it after this. The first, all right, legal and compliance. So why are we starting here? Because every conversation that I have with someone running a company, the first thing that they tell me is they are seeing their legal costs decrease by 50, 70, 80%. And by the way, this is stuff that you can see happening on the internet also. Here's a post from Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory. You ever seen his stuff? He talks about all the AI tools he's using. But here's the most interesting stat of the whole thing. The biggest change on our P&L, legal costs down 80%. Think about how many junior associates are not reviewing contracts anymore. It's right there in zone 2, right? Where it's data rich and rule bound. Does the contract say this? Then that. AI can scan. We were watching a show last night. Whoa. God. Anyway, cut this out. I can't remember what the show was, but they had to review all this legal documentation. And I was thinking to myself, this was an army of associates that had to review 100,000 sheets of paper that now an AI does this in 60 seconds. You don't need people anymore. Chris Sacca, one of the things he says in this quote, would you send your kid to law school? He talks about how his firm, like you can just get contracts made. You don't need lawyers anymore. So legal and compliance is going to be one of the first sectors to go. Second, accounting and finance. So why does this apply? Because it hits our zones 1 and 2. And the way I'm thinking about this is the following. Y Combinator is one of the biggest startup accelerators out there, for those unfamiliar. And one of the things you can do, and you can look across venture capital funds and they'll tell you what they're thinking about, is you can look at what do they want from startups. So this is a post that I can't remember whose post this was. I'll link it so I make sure I'm like citing them well. But they summarized their request, Greg something. And one of the things they cite right in here is... Sorry, we'll have to cut this. Focus vertical AI agents that replace specific job functions. And what they want is not just assisting, but automating the work. And they name right here, tax accounting, medical billing, all of this stuff. This stuff falls squarely in our kill zones 1 and 2 and will be automated. The third one, any kind of medical billing and admin. So again, this is bureaucratic. It is if-then logic. It's data entry, essentially. And it's very easily singled out for automation. And again, you can see them mentioning it in this memo very, very clearly. The fourth sector, and then we're going to talk about, because I think it's important, what do we do about this, is customer support and call centers. Why this sector of all the sectors? It's first of all, Y Combinator mentions it in their memo. Second of all, look at the increase in investment in this space over the last 4 years. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's one of the use cases where you have very high overhead, very high cost, but it's considered a cost center by the business. Anybody who works in business understands that, right or wrong, the executives are going to look at any business and cut it up into cost and revenue centers. And you're always going to try to minimize costs as much as you can because it's seen as a necessary expense to do business, but it's not seen as a critical business driver. It's just how it is. You can like wish it was some other way, but it is how it is. So all these things are going to be automated away. And it's already the case that like 80% of these, the inquiries are being handled by AI and only a small percentage are being escalated. And then finally, we have any kind of routine content or data management. Again, it hits squarely in our kill zones 1 and 2. And I don't even need to give you any proof of this. Go on LinkedIn and tell me that routine content is not being automated. However, this is an interesting space and is going to bridge into what to do about it because this is a critically important idea here. Routine content, right? Writing, let's say, LinkedIn comments or making really boring like SEO, like anything low value, is getting automated away. But at the same time, high value content creation is more and more valuable. And I'm going to give you a specific example of this. So here's Lauren, who is in my community. Let me pull it up. So she recently closed a $30,000 deal she has a very specific method of content creation she uses with tech companies. And one of the interesting things about a new deal she got in this space is that it was with a content repurposing AI company where she's going to use their unique AI data, like the unique proprietary data they have access to create what she calls cornerstone content, which is just really high value content. And she's being paid a premium above the market to do this. Why? Because of positioning and unique expertise, which is something every single person watching this video has the capacity to do. If you have access to the technology required to watch this video, you have the capacity to make $100, $300, $500, $1 million a year doing specialized work by simply monetizing the skills that you already have. All right. So we've sort of looked at how things are going away. And now I want to look at what could the future look like? The word very simply is decentralized. The workplace is becoming more and more decentralized. This is a trend that's been happening for a good amount of time now. It is being accelerated with AI. So what do I mean by this? If you look at what is Bitcoin? It's taking away the power from a single entity and it's decentralizing access to currency. The same thing is happening with jobs. It used to be that large organizations, because of the need to organize large bodies of labor in a factory setting or a production setting, offered us stable employment. The whole notion of jobs is a new thing. And we're seeing cracks in this system form. It took power away from you as the individual and it gave it to the organization. We now see things like indie hackers and freelancing and all these things where you can apply leverage to the way that you work by having a clear offer, by using AI as an amplifier, by positioning it in a unique way, and then 10x the amount of money that you can earn on the open market simply selling your skills in a specialized way. In the future, this is what it's going to look like. Rather than you reporting to work and sitting in a commute and whatever, you are going to have a specialized skill, a point of expertise. You create models around this point of expertise, and you use this in a leveraged way to sell to companies. So let's say, you're a content person. You get an email, like you set up systems to go outbound and create relationships with e-commerce companies. E-commerce companies need killer product descriptions that convert. You are a specialist in this area. And so they come in and they say, oh man, we're struggling with conversions in this area. Can you help us improve this part of our business? You use your models and your smarts to do this in a morning. You charge a value-based fee because this company is bringing millions of dollars to this site. For you to charge $5,000 to rewrite product descriptions, or 10 is nothing, or 20 or 30. Like there's Lauren doing it at 28.5. And then you work till noon and you go about the rest of your day. And by the way, this is what I've been doing for 15 years. It's just now the technology is making it even easier and easier and easier. How do you do this? We do it with what I call the leverage stack. You don't need to write all this down. I have a cheat sheet that you can go download below. If you're really serious about taking the next step with this, you can go get the freelance formula, which is my course on this idea. You can join the leverage lab, which is where we really dissect all this. It's my community where we do this on an ongoing basis. I will leave those links below, but I want to give you the checklist or the cheat sheet so you can simply do this on your own as well if you want. The leverage stack is simple. It's knowledge, it's offers, it's systems, and it's scale. You take your unique lens on a problem. You create a clear, specific offer around that idea. I'll give in that cheat sheet, I give you the precise syntax to use, meaning fill in the blank. This is how to position your offer in a way that's going to be effective to buyers. You then create systems to repeatably deliver it. And then you scale it by multiplying what's working and using automation. And you go off and you enjoy the rest of your life. This idea of 40-hour work weeks is going to be a relic of the past. And it's coming for these 5 sectors first, but it will be coming for every sector if we don't adopt this leverage class mindset and learn to make this shift well. All right, so with that, I encourage you to go on, and I've got several other videos about how to navigate this shift here, and I encourage you to get that cheat sheet and put it to work. If you want to take the next step, you can look at the freelance formula, you can look at the leverage lab, and with that, I'll see you in the next video.